was 18, there was a gang of us. We all decided to go to Butlins for holiday. So when we got it was absolutely fantastic, because then back in the day, 1964 this was, and sort of back in the day, you didn't take holidays abroad. That didn't come in really till the 70s, unless you had plenty of money, like, you know, so package holidays didn't come in. So everyone sort of took their holidays here. And Butlins was absolutely fantastic for youngsters, you know, for us kids. And so we were there, and I was always a bit bonkers anyway, like, you know. And we had one of the boys that was with us. He was really kind of shy and conservative, and he used to walk around like this, you know. He wouldn't say boo to a goose. So I said to him, we went to this fairground. And so I said to him, Mike, coming on this big wheel with me? Oh, I don't want to go on there. I said, well, yes you are, you're coming on with me. So we got on this big wheel, and as it was going around, the guys on the bottom started shaking the car. So instead of, he was panicking and almost crying, holding on to this car. So worst thing he could have ever done, because I started shaking it. And as much as I possibly could, until it was almost somersaulting. And then I got to the very top, and I mean the very top, and the safety bar just came out in my hand. Woof, out I went, like a skydiver. I just went out. And I must have fallen about, from the very top. I'm not very good at how high it actually was, but it had to be something like 40 feet, something like that. So I fell, and I landed on a brick wall on my back. But my one arm was behind me, and when I must have hit this wall, bounced and led by the side of the wall. And I wasn't unconscious, but when I sort of came to my senses, I was led there, and I was looking at this hand, and I thought, that hand shouldn't look like that, because the fingers were touching my forearm, you know. And I thought, there's something wrong there. And I couldn't feel anything, you know. It was all numb, and there were people looking down at me, waiting for me to die, and it was awful. It was real weird, because my jeans, the jeans that I had on, it was a zip jean. Yeah? Now the zip completely broke away from the jeans with the impact. It was still zipped up, but the stitching on the side had broken away. And this girl came and put a handkerchief, that's to say how big I was, on where it was broken. It should have been a scarf, because at least I could have bragged about that. But so they then decided to fly me. They said, oh, look, we're going to have to send him to Stoke Mandeville. And how I knew, I don't know, but they flew me then to Stoke Mandeville by helicopter. And I always remember in the helicopter, I was thirsty and I asked for a drink. But they couldn't give me anything to drink because of internal bleeding. So this one of the drivers gave me a polo. And so I was sucking on that until I got to Stoke Mandeville. They took me into Stoke Mandeville, and they wheeled me into this ward, and they were sticking all these pins in me. And then all of a sudden they put an indelible pen across my chest. This is where we think he's broken his back. But the worst thing was, I just had bought this brand new polo shirt that day, and they cut it off me. I was gutted. How stupid is that? How stupid that you're thinking about this brand new polo shirt that they cut off and you broke your bloody back, like, you know. So, but when they come round the next morning and said, look, you've broken your back, and we're going to have to give you a lumbar puncture and blah, blah, blah. But I was there then for something like 6 months. And after about 3 months, I knew it was pretty bad, because everybody was wheeling around, going around in wheelchairs. But I was afraid to actually ask what was going to be the rest of my life, like, you know. So I can remember Dr. Magapadi, and he came around, and I thought I got to pluck up the courage. I said, Doctor, what's the prognosis? How long am I going to be like this? And he said, how long has it been, John? I said, 12 weeks. So he said, well, what you have now is what you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. I thought, whoa, that was a kick. That was a kick, and I was really depressed then for a bit, like, you know. I thought, whoa. And everybody was saying to me, oh, you're lucky, you're L1. You know, I broke my neck, and I was thinking, I don't really feel that lucky, to be honest with you. you know, and because everything is personal, isn't it? And I can remember talking to a doctor and saying, everybody's saying I'm lucky, and I don't really feel that lucky. He said, and it's a brilliant analogy of disability or whatever, or your own personal life. And he said, look, John, if you were lined up against a wall with 100 people and you're all being whipped, it doesn't lessen your pain anymore knowing that 99 others are getting it. So I thought, I can take that one. And I suppose as the months went on, but at that particular time, if someone had offered me a tablet, I more than likely would have taken it. The last thing I wanted was to be in a wheelchair. You know, because before that I loved my boxing, my gymnastics, and sport was my life, like, you know. Because I remember once talking to Owen Money, he interviewed me once and he said, what kind of sports did you do, John, before? And I said the same, you know, boxing, gymnastics. He said, oh, you did a bit of boxing? I said, yes, Owen, I did a little bit. He said, I thought so, because you've got a nose like a blind cobbler's thumb. Crazy, absolutely crazy. But it took me, when I came out of hospital, in all honesty, if I could have gone back to Stoke Mandeville, I would have, because it wasn't a great place to be when I came out. I got refused entry into restaurants, pubs, buses even. They wouldn't let me on buses. So I'd go to my local pub where they all knew me anyway, and we'd come out if we were going somewhere else, and the boys used to get me out of my wheelchair, and they'd stand me up as though nothing was wrong with me, put their arms around me like a little bit tipsy, and they'd chuck me on the bus and then drag the chair on afterwards, so the driver and the conductor couldn't say anything. So then we'd go.